ASMR Who, and this is my review of the Ninth Doctor Adventures, The Last Days of the Powell Estate. This is written by Timothy X Atack, and of course you've got Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor, you've got Billie Piper as Rose Tyler, as well as Camille Coduri as Jackie Tyler as well. So this is the kind of second episode in this new Ninth Doctor Adventures series. Came out a couple of days ago. This is, as the name would suggest, another story set on the Powell Estate where Rose lives. But it is, unlike the previous story, Snare, it's not entirely in the present day of 2006, 2005, 2006. Jackie Tyler's stuff is set at that point, but the Doctor and Rose are on the Powell Estate in 2036, so they're 30 years in the future, and it is abandoned and it is deserted. And they encounter a kind of, it's sort of a version of a kind of haunted house content creator, vlogger type character, called Ellis, played by Haki Bambra, he's got this drone and he kind of explores these abandoned places, which is a very kind of modern element to throw into a 2005 Ninth Doctor story, you know. But they kind of meet him and he kind of explains to them what's going on. But the kind of stories are that there's this malevolent force called Mr. Fingers who kind of taps you on the shoulder, and if he taps you on the shoulder twice and you turn around, you die, basically. And it's become this kind of folk tale, but it is why the Powell Estate is abandoned, and it all began in around about 2005, 2006. So Rose obviously panics, calls her mum. That involves Jackie in the story, and then it kind of, Jackie's got her own sort of side character, this character called Brainy Betty, who is played by Mandy Simons, who is a really fun presence, to be honest. And the story kind of continues in these two timelines simultaneously. In fact, there's a really great moment where both parties are heading to the same place on the estate, and as they're both entering at the same time, and it kind of intercuts between the two conversations and the two timelines. I thought that aspect of this story was really good. It also talks about fear and what the Doctor's scared of. It kind of touches on that, which is very interesting. But yeah, this was fun. It had kind of a spooky quality to it. It wasn't quite, I don't think I quite liked it as much as the previous story, Snare. Again, I think it had those kind of modern elements. Brainy Betty felt like a kind of a modern character, and obviously the whole deal of Ellis feels very true to what could happen in 10 years or whatever. But personally, I want these stories to feel like they've come straight from 2005. Snare felt like that kind of story, even though it had elements that I thought were a little bit more modern in the way it discussed mental health and the kind of neurodivergence, without just saying that was what it was about. It kind of discussed them in a way that felt true to 2005, but also felt kind of very modern and honest, and I thought that was a really great kind of balance balancing act that that story managed that I don't think this story quite nails the same way. This is not a story that would have been written 20 years ago, which is not necessarily a bad thing. That's more of a personal preference on my part there. But I did enjoy this. So the next story is by, I believe it's by Lisa McMullen, and it's called Dare You, and it is again on the Powell Estate. Now, we knew that a lot of these stories in this new series were going to be Powell Estate based. I believe in some kind of outlets and whatever, they've been describing these first 3 stories as a kind of a trilogy. So what I hope is that these first 3 stories are on the Powell Estate, and then after that we then start to kind of move away from the Powell Estate and go to other times and other places. I think the Powell Estate is a fun setting. It's nice to have Jackie. It's nice to kind of build up Jackie and Rose's relationships with their people. It gives it that sense of community, which you only really got brief, very small elements of that on TV, whereas here you're getting, in the characters in the previous story and then in this one as well, you get these characters and you get to explore their relationships with our main characters here. But I think that's a really nice element. That being said, I don't want every story in this run to be set on the Powell Estate. There is clearly kind of ongoing themes and stuff, the reasons why stuff is happening at the Powell Estate. They kind of make reference to the previous story in this one. Could it be linked? So there is clearly going to be something, there's a story arc going on there. There is also, I'm pretty sure I did catch another Bad Wolf reference. I believe it was just in spoken dialogue, which again, I think it was in Snare as well. It's much harder to sneak those in an audio medium, one would imagine. But I think that I think that again, these are nice Doctor and Rose stories. Bad Wolf should be in there. It's something that the BBC Books did at the time. It's something that Bad Wolf shows up in the Titan comics. And I think it is going to keep showing up in these stories, but if it's just in kind of offhand lines of dialogue, it feels a little less, I don't know. Whereas I feel like you could, in this story, very easily have Bad Wolf be a thing that the kind of vlogger character Ellis could reference. But then, that is a big nitpick about wanting these stories to feel like they fit in the series, in series 1 from 20 years ago. But of course, it's not 20 years ago. These stories have no obligation to actually be part of that. It doesn't make them any less valid or any less good of a story. Again, that's all just a preference on my part. But I enjoyed this. I preferred Snare, certainly. But I'm looking forward to the next story, Dare You, which looks to be quite spooky. Which, again, this had that element, and so I think that's fun. The kind of horror element is I think, kind of quintessential to Doctor Who, and it's lovely to get that in these stories. The cast, of course, were all fantastic. Chris Eccleston and Billie Piper, they're just, it's like they never left. It's also really nice to have Camille Kaduri. I believe she is again in the next story. It's lovely to have her. I like Jackie as a character, but again, I hope that we move away from the Powell Estate next time. Again, the thing as well with situating the stories there is the more stories you do in that setting, the more excuses you're going to have to come up with to explain why Noel Clarke isn't in them. Because obviously you're not going to put Noel Clarke in them, are you? But yeah, this was very good. But I think that's about what I have to say. It's consistent, certainly. These two stories have been consistent, so I hope that we can have a really strong, consistent run here. Most Big Finish stories are pretty good, certainly that I've listened to. There's very, very few that I've listened to that I've felt have been actively not very good. It's a kind of a special type of script on audio that really doesn't work. So yeah, this series is really good so far. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the next story. But those are my thoughts on the last days of the Powell Estate. Have you listened to this? What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. But yeah, please do like and subscribe and all those things if you haven't done. And I will see you next time for Dare You. Bye bye.